Hi, babies. Grandma loves you. Time for a bedtime story. Tonight we're reading The Selfish Giant. All right. Once there was a beautiful garden. It was covered with grass that was soft and cool as a pillow. Scattered about the garden were colorful flowers and peach trees. Oh, Grandma loves peach trees. That wore pink blossoms in spring and bore plump fruit in the fall. Birds filled the sweet garden with their melodies. They seemed to call, "Children, come out to our garden and play." And come the children did. Each day on their way home from school, the children would visit the garden. They would lay in the cool grass and hide among the trees. They would pick flowers for their mothers and eat the sweet peaches for a snack. How happy they were. Then one day, the giant returned. This was his garden, but he had been away for 7 years, visiting his cousin, the ogre. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in his garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a gruff voice. "This is my garden. Nobody can play here but me." To make his point clear, the giant locked the gate and nailed two sturdy planks of wood across the doorway. Then he hung a sign that said, "Keep out." The children watched the giant sadly. Now the children had nowhere to play. They tried playing on the road, but it was too dusty. They tried playing outside their school, but they were shooed away after their lessons. Each day the children would walk around the high garden wall and remember the fun they had to have and used to have inside. Soon, spring turned into summer, and summer became fall. Then fall gave way to winter. When winter said farewell, spring came again. Everywhere the land was filled with birds and blossoms. Everywhere, that is, except the selfish giant's garden. The birds refused to sing there, since no children would hear their songs. The trees refused to blossom, since no children would climb their branches and taste their sweet, ripe fruit. And so snow covered the grass with her white cloak, and frost painted all the trees silver. The wind hissed through the garden, blowing its icy breath. "I cannot understand why spring is so late coming," said the giant, as he looked out his cold, white garden. "I hope it will come soon." But spring never came, nor summer. One morning, the giant was lying in bed when he heard some lovely music. It sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought it was the king's musicians, but it was really a bluebird singing outside his window. It was so long since he had heard a bird sing in his garden that it seemed to him the most beautiful music in the world. The selfish giant sat up and looked out the window. What do you think he saw? What do you think? It was a most wonderful sight. The children had crept into the garden through a hole in the wall. The trees were happy to have them back again, what they had covered themselves with pink and white blossoms. The giant's heart melted as he looked out. "How selfish have I been?" he cried. "Now I know why spring would not come." For he was very sorry for what he had done. The giant crept downstairs and slowly opened the door. As he entered the garden, he saw that in one corner it was still winter. A little boy stood beneath a tree, stretching his arms up to reach its high branches. The poor tree was still covered with frost, and although it bent its branches as low as it could, the boy was too small to climb them. The giant smiled at the little boy and lifted him gently into the tree. At once the tree broke into bloom, and birds perched on its branches and sang. The little boy smiled shyly at the giant. Does this mean we may play in your garden? Asked the little boy. From now on, this is your garden, answered the giant. You and your friends may come and play here whenever you wish. The giant took his great axe and opened the garden gate once more. From that day forward, the gate was never closed again. Every day the children returned to play in the lovely place. They brought their friends with their sisters and brothers. It truly became a place for all the children. When the giant opened the gate to his garden, he opened his heart as well. He finally understood that it was the children who made the garden a magical place. Being selfish had made the giant lonely, but when he learned to share, friends filled his garden and happiness filled his heart. Each afternoon, the giant could be seen laughing and playing games with the children. The trees continued to bloom, and the birds sang in the garden with all their hearts. Everyone lived happily ever after. The end. All right, time to say goodnight, babies. Grandma loves you.
I love you.
Great grandma loves you.
Papa loves you.
Papa loves you. We all love you. Good night.